over 100 of us came together, locked arms, locked down using lock boxes, and blockaded that area off, accompanied by a banner drop over the timetables.
I am tired of having to spell out the fact that over the past 187 days, 33,360 Palestinians were killed mercilessly.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to the Struggle Video News. Netanyahu is responding to U.S. pressure in two ways. First, he is allowing in more trucks with aid for starving and suffering Palestinians. On the other hand, as Uri Miskov put it in Haaretz, Netanyahu and his generals assassinated any chance for a hostage deal. His forces killed the sons and grandchildren of a Hamas leader in Gaza, and at the same time they killed Iranians in an embassy in Syria. This is a deliberate provocation to delay or completely scuttle talks about freeing captives, and also to achieve for Netanyahu a possible path for his long-term goal, getting the U.S. to lead an all-out war with Iran. And Biden, despite some words of caution here and there, goes along, either sleepwalking or more likely collaborating. On April 12th, I interviewed a woman who had taken part in a blocking action inside of Union Station, the railroad station, in New Haven. If you've watched a recent The Struggle Video News, you saw over 100 people standing and sitting in various places at Union Station in New Haven, the railroad station. They were blocking access, and the purpose was protesting the genocide in Gaza. Trying to put in effect that slogan, if we don't get no justice, then you don't get no peace. I'll be speaking to Tacey Hutten. She's a Yale undergrad studying ethnicity, race, and migration. She's an activist and an organizer. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Great. Let's describe in broad terms what happened on that day, and that was March 28th. Am I right?
Yeah, March 28th around 5:30 p.m., right? Evening rush hour.
If I was someone in the Great Hall of the station, what would I have seen?
Sure. So the Great Hall of the station is like the main seating area. It's the first thing you see when you walk into the station. When you walk in to your left, there are the Union Station timetables. And then right below that, there are the escalators and the stairs that take you to the train platforms. So like I said, at around 5:30, over 100 of us came together, locked arms, locked down using lock boxes, and blockaded that area off, accompanied by a banner drop over the timetables, all calling on Rosa DeLauro to divest from genocide, divest from Israel, and the U.S. war machine more broadly.
So where was the banner put again?
The banner was dropped over the timetables. So it was designed to mirror the look of those timetables. In the spirit of no business as usual, we wanted to make sure that we were creating as much of a disruption as possible and really calling attention to the genocide and to some of the key like facts and figures, and also Connecticut's role in sustaining the genocide. So where normally it would say train times, and then the location, for us, it said statistics, over 33,000 killed, including over 13,000 children, 70% of homes in Gaza damaged or destroyed, over 1 million people displaced, et cetera. Then
about Rosa, a message directly to Rosa DeLauro.
Yes, a message directly to Rosa DeLauro calling on her to stop funding a genocide.
Yeah, and she's very powerful. She was the head of the Appropriations Committee, still a very powerful Democrat. Now, we saw some chanting in the videos that were on Instagram. What were people chanting?
All sorts of things. We had chanting, singing. One of my favorites is "Justice is our demand, no peace on stolen land." I think it's a really powerful call to the fact that that means, in occupied Palestine and also here in the United States, here in New Haven. Um, Singing songs about solidarity, about hope. I think just symbolized that it was really powerful coming together of people from all sorts of different backgrounds.
So people were at the stairs and the escalator, and if someone actually wanted to get on a train, was that impossible?
Not impossible. No, we wanted to be sensitive to the fact, of course, that everyone has a different positionality towards why they're getting on the train. Some people might be going to work, might need have childcare responsibilities, and so if push came to shove, like people were able to get on the trains, but there was quite an obstacle to get through. It's also part of the reason we targeted the evening rush hour. Not as many people were on their way to work. People were just on their way home.
So let me go back a bit. So why pick the train station in particular?
A lot of reasons. In part, we've talked about, what it means to enact no business as usual during a genocide. For us, part of that meant that there could be no travel as usual while 1.5 million Palestinians are trapped in Rafah. They're under attack. They're starving to death. They have no place to go. And that's all in the city that they were told would be safe. That's unacceptable. Connecticut demands better. We as young people demand better. We also wanted to call back to a lot of the activism that's been happening in the region over the last number of months. I think it was 153 days before we occupied Union Station. Hundreds of protesters shut down Grand Central, demanding a ceasefire. And for me, it weighs heavy that's 153 days of constant bombing, of torture, and now starvation. And yet Rosa DeLauro, our other elected officials, have stayed largely silent. They haven't acted. They certainly haven't acted in a way that's sufficient and conducive to justice. So those are all reasons why, we decided to occupy Union Station. We wanted to do something that would be unavoidable, unignorable, and really just demonstrate how critical this is to each and every one of us.
So what reactions did you get from average people in the station who are there only to get on trains or wait for people?
Yeah, absolutely. We saw a pretty mixed bunch of reactions. There were unfortunately some people who were pretty upset, either stormed through us, kicked certain protesters. Others, and this I would say is probably the large majority of people that we saw, were like quietly supportive. They smiled at us, waved at us as they walked by. But then I think that what I was most struck by is that there were a few people who, either on their way to the trains or getting off of them, decided to sit down and join us. One man who was sitting by me joined us for multiple hours, which for me was just a really humbling and inspiring experience. I think it goes to show that, the world by and large stands with Palestine. This isn't a struggle of the few. This is a struggle of the masses. And also a struggle that's really important to Connecticut. $69 million of our federal taxes every year are spent on weapons and equipment for Israel, for the Israeli military, particularly given the fact that there are people who in New Haven will sleep on the streets tonight. There are children who will go to bed hungry. The people of Connecticut don't consent to our tax money being sent to help finance a genocide, especially when so many issues within our own communities remain unaddressed. It's unacceptable. And like I said earlier, we demand better.
Now, how did the authorities act during this action? Were there arrests?
There were arrests, around 10 of our comrades. There's been some back and forth on the numbers. Around 10 of our comrades were arrested. I believe by the MTA Transit Authority. There were a few different police forces there, varying levels of aggression. Fortunately, no one was, severely injured. And since then, we've been able to check in with everyone, and everyone's safe and doing well. ready to keep fighting.
So are there court cases pending?
I believe so. I wasn't one of the folks arrested, so um, I'm not sure exactly, but yes, my understanding is that there are court cases pending over the next couple of days.
What has been the reaction from Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, if any?
Yeah, I personally can say that I've been really disappointed by her reaction. I don't remember if it was to the Register or the Independent, but she gave some response to the action. Hasn't had, the courage to respond to the demand itself. She put out a statement saying that she supports our right to protest. She respects our right to protest, and claims that she has worked hard to get humanitarian aid into Gaza before and during the conflict. We're glad that she respects our right to protest, but quite frankly, the rest of that is pretty blatantly untrue. First of all, it's a genocide, it's not a conflict. And second of all, she, a couple of weeks ago, voted to pass a bill that not only sent $3.8 billion of aid to Israel, but cut funding for UNRWA for the next year until March of 2025. UNRWA is the organization that supports the majority of Palestinians through humanitarian aid right now. So to say that she has been working hard to get humanitarian aid into Gaza, and then in the next breath, vote to cut funding for that aid while millions of people are on the brink of starvation, it's unconscionable. It's disingenuous. We're going to keep fighting until we receive better.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the business of UNRWA. I mean, in the last decade, Trump suspended it. Biden brought it back. Biden suspended it. It was all done by a presidential decree. But this is a law. This goes on for a year, and it becomes very easy to extend it because there's a precedent. Yeah, very good point. It's disappointing. DeLauro's very good friend Nancy Pelosi has taken a big step, signing on with 40 others in Congress to oppose further weapons deliveries to Israel, but we haven't heard anything from DeLauro about this.
No, we haven't. And like I just said, she recently voted for a bill that sent $3.8 billion in aid for Israel's genocide. I was on Twitter the other day and I saw a tweet calling DeLauro the top champion for children. And I have to admit that I was a little bit frustrated. She says that she cares about solving food insecurity and educational inequity, cares about children. And yet she's sending billions of dollars of aid to an army that has killed over 13,000 Palestinian kids. And
injured. I mean, I was listening to Democracy Now! Yesterday, I believe, and one of the surgeons was talking about these horrible injuries that these people the kids are facing. It was unreal.
Yeah, and being treated without adequate medical support, without anesthesia, without the ability to sanitize your tools, your hands. It's some of the most horrifying imagery I've seen.
After the interview, we learned that Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro had indeed moved. She joined with 55 other members of Congress, including Connecticut's Congresswoman Jahana Hayes, calling for the suspension of the transfer of offensive weapons to Israel. It's a small but important step. It shows the Democratic Party middle is feeling the heat. Is Joe Biden noticing? Here is a sneer by someone laughing at Palestinian pain. He tweets sarcastically, "Victorious Gazans enjoying the final meal of Ramadan in Khan Yunis, victoriously on the backdrop of their great victory." Idris Ahmed comments about this tweet, and he writes, "A Zionist squatter from Russia is unable to understand the steadfastness that has helped the natives of the land survive and outlive all of history's catastrophes." In Hartford, Connecticut, many Muslims took the unusual step of marking the Eid at the end of Ramadan with a protest for Palestine instead of the usual celebration.
Long live Palestine! Long live Palestine! Long live Palestine! Long live Palestine! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free! From the sea to the river! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! Palestine will live forever! Hartford, you can't hide! Hartford, you can't hide! You signed up for genocide! You signed up for genocide! And Murphy, what do you say? Murphy, what do you say? How many kids did you kill today? How many kids did you kill today? Chris Murphy, what do you say? Murphy, what do you say? How many kids did you kill today? How many kids did you kill today? CT, you will see! CT, you will see! That Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free! CT, you will see! CT, you will see! That Gaza will be free! Gaza will be free! And Hartford, you will learn! Hartford, you will learn! To our land we will return! To our land we will return! Hartford, you will learn! Hartford, you will learn! To our land we will return! To our land we will return! We believe that the pain felt by one Muslim is felt by all of us. Sure. So how can we dare to celebrate on this day without at least remembering them and showing out for them? Yeah. Yes. That's why I have respect for each and every Muslim that came out here today to sacrifice their time on a day of celebration. Because it's important that we remember, even though we're only sacrificing time, they're sacrificing their lives. Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free! From the sea to the river! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! Palestine will live forever! I stand before you as a hyphenated American who's been casted out the graces of our American democracy. I stand before you as a Palestinian who doesn't know what else is left to say. We told all the untold stories. We gave voice to the voiceless. We simplified what is cowardly labeled as complicated. We presented facts, documents, footage, analysis, and opinion. We shared personal, professional, and existential experiences. We marched, we prayed, we buried our children's bodies or whatever is left of them. We buried their moms, we buried their dads, we buried their innocence, yet the killing continues. Brothers and sisters in humanity, peace seekers everywhere, I wish we did not have to be here today. I wish we gathered for different reasons. I wish we were here to celebrate life. I wish we were here to celebrate a world that has learned the beauty of peace. I wish that we were here to celebrate a world where never again rang true for everyone. But unfortunately, we find ourselves gathered here to yet again protest a seemingly endless cycle of Israeli aggression, to call out our government's complicity and ill intention. We gather here to let out a collective cry from concerned citizens in hopes that we get some meaningful action. Brothers and sisters in peace, I am tired. I am tired of reading and hearing dehumanizing language of my people. I am tired of having to spell out the fact that over the past 187 days, 33,360 Palestinians were killed mercilessly. 76,000 Palestinians were wounded indiscriminately. 1.8 million Palestinians were displaced callously by an Israeli army that is aided and abetted by our government. I am tired of calculating how many
many children per day that amounts to? How many women per day that amounts to? I am tired of calculating. I'm tired of not mentioning how many Palestinian men per day does that amount to, as if a Palestinian man's life is worth less than the indiscriminate bullet fired towards him. I am tired of having to explain that when a colonialist, expansionist, apartheid regime invades and over 75 years continually occupies a peaceful nation, displaces its indigenous people, usurps its natural resources, that is not a mere conflict. I am tired of saying that my father, who was 8 years old when he witnessed the ethnic cleansing of his hometown to establish Israel 75 years ago. I am tired of showing pictures of my mother's house, the house that she was born in, and then forced out of when she was 5 years old, still standing in her hometown of Yibna, Palestine to this day, a town that was ethnically cleansed 75 years ago to establish the state of Israel. I am tired of the absurdity of being blamed for being a victim. I am tired of trying to prove my humanity. I am tired. We are tired, but we will never, ever be defeated. Injustice never lasts. Tyranny never lasts. Apartheid never lasts. We will continue to tell our stories. We will continue to amplify the voices of whom you hear less. We will continue to educate. We will continue to present facts, documents, footage, analysis, and opinion. We will continue to share personal, professional, and existential experiences. We will continue to march. We will continue to pray. We will continue to mourn the innocent and their innocence. Because we, the people, will not... Because we, the people, will not stand idly by while our politicians and government officials choose to be on the wrong side of history. We, the people, will not be bullied into silence over Israel's crimes against humanity by its Hezbollah's fear-mongering and lies. We, the people, will not just pray for peace, but we will work towards justice. We, the people, will say loud and clear, cease fire now! 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 Yes! Palestinians will resist! Raise your hand, make a fist! Raise your hand, make a fist! Palestinians will resist! Palestinians will resist! Intifada! 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 Mobilize the Intifada! Mobilize the Intifada! Intifada! Intifada!
It is with great sorrow that we mark the death of David Good, the retired pastor of the First Congregational Church of Old Lyme. After 9/11, while much of the country was seeking revenge, he took it as his mission to find out what was happening in the Middle East. He eventually started the Tree of Life Education Fund, which brought people to Palestine each year to see firsthand the circumstances. And also, he began a program in his church that had speakers every year from Palestine. The educational trips are still ongoing. In his long list of achievements, one that needs special attention was his appreciation of the Syrian struggle for freedom against the Assad dictatorship. His last wish was to be buried with both Christian and Muslim rituals, and that was honored. Finally, I'll mention his voice, the deep resonance in which he delivered his sermons and remarks. Here's a bit from 2015.
And I saw where the workers, 12,000 of them, line up at 3 o'clock in the morning to see if it might be possible to get through a checkpoint to go to work. And if they are injured on the job, they're summarily dropped off at a checkpoint and forfeit whatever compensation they may have received. 3 weeks ago, I planted fruit trees on the farm of Sami Abed. Settlers came down the hill and they poisoned and killed many of his olive trees. They have tried to drive him out and buy him out, but he won't sell and he certainly will not sell out. And despite his suffering, his spirit is indomitable, saying with a smile, "This is my heaven. Why would I want to leave?" And being with him reminded me of my Muslim friend Ibrahim Khalil. Settlers came and drilled holes and inserted poison in 900 of his olive trees. And I'm ever so grateful for this church working in partnership with the Parents Circle and Ibrahim Khalil to replant all 900 of those trees. But Ibrahim suffered an even greater tragedy. Sadly, his child was run over and killed by a settler who did not even stop to call for help. Ibrahim's grief-stricken wife never recovered from that tragedy. And sadly, Ibrahim himself died of cancer 2 years ago. I love Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela, but I have equal love and equal respect for this Muslim man, Ibrahim Khalil. And for some inexplicable reason, this olive farmer from Palestine majored in English literature, specializing in American literature. And I don't know how he learned about her, but he loved Emily Dickinson as much as I do. Quoting her, "Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings a tune without the words and never stops at all."
David Good, Presente. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller for the Struggle Video News.